harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zymet.
Welcome to the Beverly Zymet Show, where being the best you just got easier. My guest today, calling in from the UK, is Michelle Fulio. Did I get that right?
Yeah, Fulia. Yeah.
Fulia. Michelle, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you here. And you were telling me you're outside of Wales. Is that correct?
I'm in the North Wales. Yeah, it's up north, up high up in the north. I'm actually originally from Cyprus, which is in the Mediterranean. So it's very different living in Britain. But yeah, we're having very Mediterranean weather at the moment. So I feel like I'm home in Cyprus.
Well, there you go. You know, the weather's been so crazy all over the world here in the last year. Oh my gosh, I'm up here in Denver right now, and the winter here was crazy. And there was so much snow, and then all this crazy world stuff started happening here. You know, with this COVID, the ski lodges had to close down, and they were like having one of the best years because we had so much snow, and it was nuts. So it's like, are you kidding me? But we actually had snow here a couple weeks ago, and one of the A Basin is what they call it, right? One of the ski lodges opened up, but it was on a first call, first serve, you know, so they were open for a couple days. I think it was Memorial Day weekend. And so they had people up on the mountain, but it was very limited. And we have so many ski buffs here because it is ski country, and they kind of lost a lot of months there, right in the prime time, you know? So... Yeah. But do you guys get snow over there where you're at?
Yeah, we do. Not as often as perhaps other parts of the UK, because we're very close to the sea. And for some reason, it doesn't snow as much. But it's interesting because what you're saying, you know, with what you're saying, similarly, again, we were due to go to Cyprus on holiday to see our family just as COVID-19 happened. And of course, it's tourist season for them.
Oh, right.
Over there. So it's affected, you know, well, I suppose it's affected all over the world in different ways, isn't it? But we were looking forward to going for sunshine, and now we have quite warm weather here. But yeah, we do get snow. I don't think we've had any this year. I think this whole COVID-19 thing, I've just lost touch with time and space. I don't know where I am, what day it is, what time it is, nothing.
I had that problem before COVID. So doing this show has kind of got me in kind of a little more of a routine thing, right? So it's like I have to set my alarm to make sure I don't miss my own shows, you know? So,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. But it's been great, you know, meeting such wonderful people like yourself from all over the globe, and just reaching out, you know, it's things like this that make the world even smaller than what it is, right? And gosh, it was so weird. I met someone the other day that came on my show, and we didn't know we knew each other's family members. It was crazy. Wow. We get to talking, and it's like, what? That's your cousin? It's like, oh yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, you know?
Wow.
You know, so it just brings the world closer and closer and closer together, right?
It does.
Yeah.
You don't realize that actually we are now, I'm speaking to you as if we're in the same room. It's amazing. You're on the other side of the world, you know, and when I'm looking at, you know, my Zoom calls, I have to work out the time scale, the time zone. And I'm so confused because depending where somebody is in the States, they could be 7 hours behind, 5 hours behind. You know, and
oh, that time zone thing. I'm glad you said that, because that time zone thing still gets me all like, oh my God. Yeah. So what I do with my show is I just put it on Eastern time. I figure, if you can figure out Eastern time, you guys figure out Eastern time. Yeah. And subtract the hours because I move around a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so when I actually started the show, I was in Central Time, and now I'm up here in Mountain Time. But everything gets regulated through Eastern, so you just figure it out from that side. But it is, the time zone is crazy, And I deal with Canadians, right? And it's like, okay, what time zone in the U.S.? Because we have, they have like, I think 5 or 6 different time zones, right? We have 4 right here in the mainland, and then we have an Alaska time zone, then we have a Hawaiian time zone. Oh my goodness.
Gosh.
But I tell you, the one that's the craziest is Australia. Oh my God, because they're the next day.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is another day over there.
So you could be speaking on a Monday to somebody who's already on Tuesday or something.
Exactly. Exactly.
Crazy.
So when I talk with people from the UK, because or excuse me, from Australia, it's like, all right, I make like exceptions for them because I really love to get them on the show. So it's usually like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the afternoon here where I'm at, and that makes it 8 o'clock in Australia the next day.
Wow.
Right? So
Amazing.
yeah. As a matter of fact, I got one this afternoon, late this afternoon, who's calling in from over there. So, but it's a lot of fun, and you just kind of tweak and do what you got to do. Right?
Yeah.
So Michelle, what do you do over there in the UK?
So I recently started a coaching business, but it's very new. I'm at the very beginning stages of kind of finding my way, finding my niche, finding the people I connect with, the people I really feel like I can actually make a difference for. But what I have been doing for a lot longer than that is writing. And I had a vision about 3 years ago to write stories that this sounds quite I've always find it hard to describe it because it's so different,
right,
and so strange. But basically I have a lot of friends who live all over the world, and a lot of them are involved in non-profit projects. They're working with street kids in India, or education projects in Africa, or the refugees in Greece, whatever. And about 3 years ago, I was very frustrated that I could not help them, maybe financially. I thought, and they're out there, they're doing amazing work. I know the work they're doing. For some of them, I've been there. And I was like, oh, what can I do? What can I do to help? I was actually praying about it. And I was like, I really want to do something. I can't just sit here and not do something about this. And then this idea just downloaded into my head, and it was this voice that said, write stories. And I thought, write stories? How is that going to help? And then I just meditated on the idea, and I thought, write stories. And I came up with this idea to write stories which each story would weave in an issue that my heart connects with. So it might be refugees, street children, orphans, poverty, sickness, could be any social justice issue, but something that my heart connects with. And I would write a story and weave the issue in to bring awareness to the readers, to make them understand the issue, the problem. And then the idea was then I could sell my books,
right,
and raise money for those projects. So the idea would be that it has a sort of a double effect. One, it's bringing awareness to the reader,
right,
and the other one is it's raising money for those projects too, so we can make a difference. And so that idea was kind of, let's say, incubated 3 years ago, and it's taken that long for me to actually start putting it into fruition. So I recently completed my first children's story, which is
nice.
I haven't published it yet. I'm just, polishing it, refining it, chiseling it. But it's based on my dog. It's based on the true story of our rescue dog. So we have a little dog called Poppy. She was here a moment ago, but I think she's gone to see my kids. And so we were visiting Greece 5 years ago, and we found her abandoned on a beach, and so we rescued her. She was only a puppy then, and eventually we brought her back to the UK with us. And so when we decided to bring her back to the UK, we had this whole series of impossibilities to get this dog over to the UK. We didn't have the money to bring her. We couldn't find a way to get her over here. It was just impossible. And then the most incredible series of events took place, and there were literally just miracles, just one after the other, that paved the way to bring Poppy back to the UK. And she did come back, and she has turned out to be the most amazing family dog we could have ever wished for. And the funny thing is that, before that, my children would ask, Mommy, can we get a dog? But we have a history of moving a lot. We owned a catering business as well, so we couldn't have a pet dog because we were in and out of the cafe that we owned.
Right.
And then I was always coming up with excuses. I would always say to my kids, no, we can't have a dog because I can't cope with all the molting and all the hairs, and I want to keep the house hygienic, and we have to be careful. And then it was, we're renting houses where the owners won't allow us to have a pet. And then it was, oh, I don't want a dog that barks because, it's just so not right for our neighbors. I don't want a dog that, yaps all the time.
Oh gosh, that's annoying. That is annoying.
And then, of course, my youngest was only little as well. And I was like, oh, I don't want a dog that's always jumping up and down and scratching. And it might scratch her and hurt. And I don't want it hurting the visitors. And, and then it was, and I don't want a puppy. I can't cope with a puppy right now. I'm raising 3 kids. I'm running a business. I don't want to. So my kids were like, Mommy, there's no dog that's ever going to fit your wish list. Like, that's impossible. So I allowed, time just went. And then we find this dog that I never planned. And she was everything I did not have on my list. She was a puppy. She wasn't house trained. She wasn't vaccinated. Because I'd said if we ever get a dog, it would be fully grown from a rescue shelter, already trained, already vaccinated, already where I know its personality and I know it's suitable for the family. None of those things. And so we get this dog, and she, not only did we have to overcome all the impossibilities of getting her over, but it taught me that, what we sometimes think we want could be completely different to what is actually meant to come into our lives.
Right.
And so Poppy taught me that, you can't just create this tick list of all your wishes and think this is going to be the perfect dog, because she was everything but that. And she turned out to be the most amazing, beautiful family dog who has brought joy to so many people. She has been like a therapy dog to one of my kids who has sensory issues and struggles a lot with anxiety and stuff like that. She's like his little therapy dog, and she's amazing. And so it inspired me to write this story. Obviously, I created a fictional story because our real story was too crazy for kids to connect to. So I thought, no one's going to really connect to this. So I created a fictional family based on our family, a fictional story, and I weaved in the real, true facts of what happened. And so what I'd like to do with this is to bring awareness to children who are going to read it about stray dogs in holiday destinations, because we go on holiday and you see all these stray dogs and you don't realize, the plight of what it means and the struggle. And I wanted to raise awareness, and then I thought, and also then to raise money for the shelter that helped us get Poppy home. And so, that's kind of my heart. So this is my first book project. I am also working on my own story, on my own memoir, which I don't know how long that's going to take, but it's in progress. And I have a whole list of other stories now that I want to write. One that involves human trafficking, that one that involves refugees. And so each story will have a purpose to make a difference in the reader, and a project related to it. So that's kind of that's probably what I spend most of my time on. Coaching has just been a new thing I've added in because people kept coming to me and asking me how to deal with adversity in their lives, because I've dealt with a lot of adversity. And so it just fitted to start bringing that into what I'm doing. And then over the time of COVID-19, I just keep getting invitations from, this person's heard a little bit of my story. Can you come onto my podcast? Then somebody else, and I heard about you from this person. So now suddenly I'm getting invited to speak. Right. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, sure, I'll do that.
Now what am I going to talk on, right? That is so beautiful. I'm listening to this story, and it's taking me into an avenue. One of my assets is being able to just capture the theme of what you're talking about and incorporate it into something you probably never even thought about. So when it's beautiful how you're putting that story together, and as you're talking about this dog, right, this puppy, being out there by itself, wandering, and all these little miracle things that happen. If you take that same story and you put it into your life, right, and you start looking at see, you're getting it. You're looking at the commonalities of things in your life and how your roller coaster life was like following the path of what this puppy was going through, right? And, and we do that. And again, it's the awareness, and a lot of the workshops that I teach and when I'm working with clients and stuff too, is become aware, totally aware of your surroundings, what's crossing your path, whether it's an animal, whether it's the wind, whether it's, whatever it comes that's different from just the normal things, just, across your path. It's like, so you're somewhere, here you are out walking on the beach, having a good time, playing in the water and everything, and all of a sudden, here this puppy shows up out of nowhere and just captivates you, right? There's a message for that. Obviously, you got the message and you follow through because, it's like it was impossible to get this little puppy from here to here, yet it happened, and things like that happen in our lives, right? When you start looking at what's the impossible. And again, the excuses we make. Right? So you're either making things happen or you're making excuses. Where are you? I wrote a book on which side of the fence are you on, and it talks about that opposite ends, right? Because you can't be in both places at the same time. It's impossible. Totally impossible, right? So what you're doing here, writing these stories and stuff, when you start to connect, because those stories are going to connect on a human level as well, right? So it's a beautiful thing that you're doing. But you also mentioned all of a sudden doors are opening, here you are on my show, you got podcast shows to be on, maybe bloggers are talking to you and everything. Maybe, just maybe, this is your message to say, maybe I should start my own show. And then I get, because now you've got a subject that you want to talk on, right? So talking from the heart, right? So here's Michelle. How'd you say your last name? Fulia. Here's the Michelle Fulia show, speaking from the heart, right? And you start talking your stories. You have a guest come on that's related to that story. You have all these probably that you've never even thought about, people coming on, sharing their stories. And that's an impact.
Yeah.
And that goes into your writing.
Yeah.
And you can market that. You can take each one of your shows, each one of these interviews, turn them into a video book type of thing, a video subscription where people can come, they're going to pay for a subscription to hear all these coming from the heart stories. They come out live, but then they're only up for so long, and then they're in your subscription, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? You can talk and record a lot faster than you can write.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
And then you're getting the story from other people's heart as well as yours. So now you've got that combination,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You can take it a step further. You can turn it into an event, like a speaker event. You're going to have all these great speakers come in, tell pieces and parts of their story, right? And have it a paid event. Now you're putting a lot of capital out there to make a difference. To make a difference in all these different categories that you just spoke about earlier, right?
Yeah.
Can you see how much faster that's going to go?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you need help getting a show started, that's what I do. I help people. I teach people how they can get their shows going, how you can make it professional, where to get it out to, and all that kind of stuff. So
Okay,
that makes a difference. And the world is going to video. It has been for a long time. And now with this whole COVID thing, it's just totally inundated the internet with that ability. You know, everybody's out there because with what they call that social distancing, people need people. They really do, right? And so what better way than to get in the face of your audience, come from your heart, right? By your speaking, your body language, your energy, all of that is right there, you know? That's huge. That's where the differences are made. You know, reading a book, you know, it's an art. Writing is an art because you have to be able to put the words together to get the message and the feeling and the energy. Just talking, it's easier, you know? And it's faster, right? It's right there on the spot. So there's so many different things that you can do with that, right? And you have audiobooks, right?
Yeah.
You have audiobooks. So you could take, you know, top stories on a certain subject and put them in chapters, right? And generate an audiobook out of that. You know, so there's a lot of possibilities out there, right?
Yeah. You've got my mind thinking now. All my creative juices are flowing as you speak. So I may not be responding much because it's also new. I'm kind of like, well, that was not something I was thinking about. So now I'm thinking about it. So
I kind of have a way with that, you know?
Yeah. Guess what I'm going to be thinking about over the next, the rest of today. I'll
Right.
be like,
well, you know, we're gonna take that one step further. We talked a little bit just prior to the show about the virtual reality world, you know, and a lot of people are thinking that, you know, here we are in this little Zoom type of looking call, right? Which is magic in itself. And, you know, and virtual reality, which is an avatar world, which is so far removed from what we're doing right here. But the connection, that one-on-one connection is so different because when you're in the avatar world, I mean, here we are, we're talking side by side, yet it doesn't give the feeling that I can just like reach out and touch you. Let's see, you're over here. No, you're backwards, so you're over here. But you're not there, Michelle. I don't see you over here, right? But I see you on camera. Now, when you go into the avatar world, your voice is in this little avatar. Someone else's voice is in this little avatar. And you are standing next to each other, looking at each other. The psyche says, oh, there's somebody right here. Because they are. So it closes the gap on that distancing. You know, you can't really touch them, but it's like you're there. I mean, you can high five it, you can wave and have your hands kind of going together like this. So it gives that appearance. It really does. And when you're in it, and you don't need these crazy Oculus glasses for 3D to be able to experience that. And you can take a little run. So let's just, hey, let's go over to this world, and we can run up this mountain, and you're over there running up the mountain, or you're sitting down on the beach, or you're in a classroom setting, you're right there. Right?
Wow.
Or you bring people into an auditorium and you're standing up on stage and you're talking with them and they feel like they're right there in that room with you because in avatar form you are. Right? And the mental health industry has been using this for quite a few years now, helping people get over different phobias, getting over fears, getting over anxieties, PTSDs, and things like that because of that very same thing, right? Because in the virtual reality world, you can take them right to the edge of where that anxiety or that fear, phobia, or whatever it is. You can take them right to the edge, and then it just disappears, right? Because you shut off, it disappears, right? And each time you do that, it gets easier and easier. The fear, and this is a good one, the fear of being on stage, of public speaking, is greater than the fear of death.
Yeah.
And the first time I heard that, I'm thinking, that's insane. That's not true. But it is. So in the avatar world, you can be up there on stage and you can be talking away like there's no tomorrow, and you're coming from the heart. You're coming from a different perspective. Everything is there, right? But there's no inhibitions. There's no mind chatter saying, oh my gosh, or people looking at me because, are my clothes in place? Is my dress too short? Maybe I should have wore this dress instead of that dress. Maybe I should have wore slacks instead of that. Maybe I should have a suit on. Oh gosh, what does my hair look like? What does my makeup look like? Oh, none of that in the virtual world, right? You build your little avatar out to look how you want, and you're up there on the stage looking classy, So
Wow.
So there's so much
that's incredible. I mean,
yeah. Well, my partner and I, what we did is we took that gaming world, because basically the avatar world was a world of gaming, and we took it, we turned it into education.
Fantastic.
And interacting, the networking, right? To communicate with people from all over, because we're exposed to it. So why not? It's called DBI, Digital Business International.
Amazing.
Right? And so, hey, you guys out there, you want to know more about it? Hey, comment below here. Reach out, private message me. I'll take you into that world. So it's pretty wild. And I'm actually going to start doing some shows from inside the virtual reality, just to kind of expose some of that. But this, like I was mentioning a little earlier, we had an event this weekend. So when you go to an event, you go to convention center and everybody's got their tables up and you're walking around checking them all out and everything, right? It's really cool. You go there for two purposes. One, well, maybe three purposes. One, just to get out of the house. Two, just to check out to see what's different and what's new and what's there. And three, you want to interact with people. You want to see if there's something that is going to trip you, trigger maybe a plan B, or just maybe an item that you were looking for. You pick something up and say, this thing does what? Oh my gosh, I need this, right? And so you walk home with it. Whatever that is, but it's that interaction, and you start to connect on a different level. So we took that out of the planet world and put it into the virtual world. So, and it's all networking. It's all coming together in a network of introducing, hi, I'm so-and-so, this is what I do. Oh, great, nice to meet you, this is what I do. So we have vendor tables in there where authors have their books. They have courses, right? And everything is clickable. Everything is clickable. So you go in there and you touch, you just put your mouse over something and you click on it. It takes you to wherever you want them to buy the book. It takes them to your website. It connects with you. So my booth has my show up there. So if anybody passes through and they want to be a guest on the show, all they have to do is click, and it takes them to the place to get on the show, just like you did, right?
Wow.
So it's virtually endless in that world, right?
Incredible. I had no idea.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about doing it on the way we're doing it, you don't have to pack your car. You don't have to drive down to a convention center. You don't have to fight with the union guys to get your stuff in, right? And then you get all this time to set it up. And then you have to stand there for 1 day, 2 days, however long the event is. You're there. And if there's not a lot of people coming through at the same time, then you're sitting here, you're thinking, well, gosh, I could be doing this, I could be doing that, and I got to stand at this table, right?
Yeah.
So in the virtual world, you're there, and people are coming up to you, and talking and sharing and clicking and doing whatever. But let's just say, because there's always a lag time, there just is, and what you can have your little avatar world open. You can be doing other things on your computer. You can get up, go get yourself something to eat, come back, and work, do what you want to do, and then all of a sudden you hear this voice, hi, my name is, and you can say, oh, I better get back to my table here, right? And now you're interacting with somebody. So how cool is that?
That's amazing. Also, the fact that you're saving money because you're not traveling to events, and you're not having to book accommodation if it's far away, and extra food and all the other costs that are involved, babysitters. And,
you got it.
All of that.
You got it. This is great, audience. She hasn't even seen it yet, and she's in it. She hasn't seen it, and she's in it, right? And we're just talking about it. That's how inundated, that's how addictive, I guess is a better word, how addictive this can get, because it's so much fun. And and again, I was looking for a way to do my my classes and stuff and workshops that I do, because that's my passion. I love being up in front of a group and teaching workshops that you can go out in the world and incorporate them in your daily lives, right? And so I was looking to do that from a virtual standpoint, not from a Zoom standpoint, but something different. And I didn't know what that different was until January of this year. And it's like, it just put me in a whole different, literally world. And so that has made a change, so we've got stages in there for you to stand on, right? So that you can talk to your group. You can have speaking events. So what you just said, Michelle, is that you don't have the expense to travel. You don't have the expense of a babysitter. You don't have the expense of a hotel. You don't, all of these things. It's like, man, I want to attend that event. Now this event's costing you $3,000 or $5,000, right? Okay, I got the money for that, and it's like, ooh. So sometimes you almost have to just double that for your traveling expenses and hotel rooms and everything else. It's usually about double.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I was going to say another thing as well. As you were talking, I was thinking, when you stand at your stand and you have people come, sometimes you have time wasters. Like one person could be speaking to you for a long time while another person's waiting to speak, and that person could be the one that's going to spend the money on your product.
Right.
But this person's wasting your time, and you're losing the clients or the potential customer. And the other thing as well is printed stuff. Like when you go to events, you have to have printed materials, marketing materials.
Oh my God, you got it.
You don't have to have any of
No,
them.
all you have to do is have a clickable link, right? So if there is, like you were saying, and there are those because they don't have anything better to do, and they're looking for that interaction. Again, that people interaction, right? And the way we've got our events set up, these are people that are serious about coming in and interacting. Not that you're not going to get some of the ones that just want to come check it out, right? So there's a cost to be an attendee, and it's a whole whopping $10, right? So, and it's not open to the public. It's only by invitation, right? Which makes it, again, a little more secure. So you're not going to just get anybody walking in. So you have more of an audience that's a focused audience, right? And again, if there's more than one person at your booth, and let's just say you got somebody that's in there that just won't shut up, and there's someone else standing over here, right? Well, all you got to do is put your mouse over that person, say mute, right? I'm not joking. It's so funny. So you say mute, right? And their mouth is going like this, but nobody can hear them, and you can start talking to the other person. And you say, hey, because you put your mouse over, and it'll give them their name. So you say, hello to them. Is there something I can help you with? Do you have any questions about what we're doing? So now they're going to talk, and this other person is like this, but nobody can hear them, right? And and again, some people just, they don't want to talk. They just want to come by and they want to look, see what you got, whatever, right? And then that's interesting. And all they got to do is click, they get the link, and then they can move on their merry way. So you've got avenues of all different people of what, of different status and everything else that goes on. But
I love it.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you, when the first time I found that mute button, right, I'm thinking, wow, why isn't there a mute button out here on the planet?
Yeah.
So it is interesting. The world is changing. The technology that we have in this day and age it's mind-boggling. But to be able to do a workshop or a presentation of any kind and have it in a professional looking setting versus just like here you are sitting in your living room or dining room or bedroom or whatever, right? And everybody's looking at what's behind you. Oh, what's she got hanging on the wall? What is that piece of art? And they're like, oh, I wonder if I can read the name of that book. Seriously. That's where the mind goes. The mind travels, right? So the only place the mind can go in mind is back there on the earth, back there on the planet or out there where the sun is, right? And again, it's something that you're branding. So you build around what it is that you're looking for. So like my tagline, being the best you that you can be is all about what is it that you can do every day to make it a better you and to make it a better world. Doesn't have to be some big massive thing, just something small. Like finding a little puppy on the beach and taking it home with you, But that turns into some big things too, right? But yeah.
I was looking for her to show you her, but she's
she don't want to be on. She don't want to be on screen. She has this phobia,
She's a bit of a diva, She hasn't got her makeup on, hasn't had her hair done, so.
We have so much fun on this show, Michelle. It's a delight talking with you, and listening to your story and what it is that you're doing. But it's such a beautiful thing, and there's so much out there right now, and I can tell it's a passion. I mean, you're just coming from your heart. You're creative. Your mind is starting to go off in all these different directions and stuff, which is beautiful because in the avatar world, if you can think it, it can get created, right? And so to be able to, because I know I'm an author, and the first book I wrote, I didn't think I was ever going to get it done, right? And it just kept getting more and more and more and more, right? And I woke up one morning thinking, I'm never going to get this book done. This is like, oh man, because I got to put this in it and that in it. Then I heard the voice, like you heard the voice, right? The voice says, Beverly, you're writing a book, not an encyclopedia. Oh my gosh! It's like, you're right. Right. So I'm trying to put, all of this information that I've learned over 35 plus years into one book. It's like insanity. So it's like, okay. It's like, all right. So I go through my book, right? All the information I have. And it's like, okay. So I pick out X amount of chapters. And that's what I put in my book. And now all the other information is, another book and another book and another book, right? So,
yeah.
It's like, so you have that wealth of information and experiences and things that you've had over the years. How do you put that out there, and the same thing with coaching, right? You want to just like dump everything that you know onto that person, and that person's like, wait a minute, whoa, 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 right? So it's like standing as a teacher in front of first graders.
Yeah.
And you start talking to them on a first grade level, and your mind starts going here, and all of a sudden, now you're at sophomore college level, and you're sharing it with these little first graders, and they're looking at you like, huh? Like what? So you've got to give people one thing at a time. You have to remember, You didn't learn it all at once. They're not going to learn it all at once. So you put it in some kind of, constructive, organization and start bringing it out there one at a time. And that's kind of what makes online courses and stuff where people start with them and then they don't finish because they're inundated with way too much information. And if you're giving them something to do that's going to take, an hour or two out of their day, they're not going to do it. But if you start putting, programs together, something that's going to give them 10 to 15 minutes to incorporate and then go out and make it part of their life, they're more apt to start doing it and be ready for the next day's, 10, 15 minute thing. And that changes lives. And then they work up into the different levels of stuff. So again, everything starts with baby steps. Where were you? Got to remember that. Where were you when you started your journey? And so don't put somebody at the end of the journey when they're still over here at the beginning, or they're just trying to figure out how do I jump on the path to get to my journey, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It has to be a step by step, but somebody else's, one person's small step could be somebody else's tiny little step. So we can't, you can't, I know how many times there's been people frustrated with me for not getting a message they were trying to pass to me. Like, they would advise me or guide me or give me information. And of course, I wasn't ready to receive. I wasn't yet prepared for that which they were trying to impart to me. And so it was just like, and of course people then get, you see that with parents. How many times have I told you blah, 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 blah? That kid's like, forget it. That kid's not even.
No, they're not there. That's not relevant to their world. Yeah.
And there's a different approach. I see that as a mother, that each of my 3 children learn completely differently.
Yes.
They receive information completely differently, and they process completely differently. So I have to think creatively with each one, because I know that I could be saying the same thing over and over again to one of my kids, and it's just gone. It's gone. The first word in is gone. It's switched off already,
Oh, exactly. The tone of the voice, the situation, everything. It's interesting that you say that, because kids are different. Each one of them is unique, right, as you go. And as you get the different age segments and stuff, right, where mom knows everything, right, and they're just listening at every word you're going to say, and they want to be up there and playing the dishwater, and they want to do this, and they want to help you cook, and they want to, I have a little 3-year-old great-grandson, right, and he's got his own little broom, and he goes around and he's sweeping up. So I said, what you doing? And he goes, well, I'm cleaning the kitchen, right? Then he goes over here and he's doing stuff. I said, what you doing now? And he goes, I'm cleaning up dog poop, he goes. Oh my gosh. So they get a dog, so they go out in the backyard, and whatever. But, they are so true to their words, right? But they want to be helpful at that age. Now they get up to where they're, 10, 11, 12, right? And you tell them, hey, clean your room, do this. And it's like, they don't have nothing to do with it. And then, they reach that teenage years, and all of a sudden, mom doesn't know anything. Doesn't matter. You know nothing, right? And you will never know nothing until they start to get in their mid-20s. Now they think, well, maybe mom did know what she was talking about. By the time they hit 30, now they're coming back, and it's like, mom, do you have any advice for me on this? Mom, what would you do in a situation like this? So the tables turn, during that whole processing and everything.
I think though with this, for me, has been interesting, because experiencing that frustration, like others being frustrated with me, has helped me see my kids differently. And I realized over time, as I kind of had to mold and change my methods and my techniques, and in the end I realized, like a lot of my years I spent worrying obsessively that something would happen to them, and eventually it was something that I had to let go but I had to let it go consciously. Like I had to actually say, okay, I cannot control everything. I can't make sure that they don't get hurt, but I also can't make sure that they're going to have all this tick list again, the tick list. If I get all these things in order, then they'll be okay. I had to let go, like with the dog,
Right.
and say, actually, my role in their lives is I'm a co-traveler with them. I don't see myself as the captain steering the ship
Right.
and just commanding and barking orders, do this, throw that, I see myself as alongside them, and we're traveling together, and we're going to make mistakes together, and sometimes we're going to go in the wrong direction together, but together we're going to figure it out, and then we're going to redirect the ship to where we need to go. And in that process, I'm learning too, and I think that for me has been one of the biggest lessons ever, that we never ever land where I know it all, I'm going to just teach it all to you so that you can have this amazing life, not make the mistakes I did, because they will make mistakes. And actually, no matter how many times you tell them, I've been through this and I did that and this is what happened, they have to experience it for themselves, and so I realized that, just co-travel, be a co-traveler, and when they need you, they'll come in and get you. You don't have to be. So now, my oldest, who's 17, he's teaching me so much more than I could ever teach him. And the little ones too, I have a 17-year-old, a 12-year-old, and an 8-year-old. And so I'm learning so much through our conversations, because I'm approaching it from openness and like, I'm here and we're learning together, we're growing together, we're experiencing together, and there'll be conflict and there'll be mistakes, but we're just going to kind of do it together. But that's been incredible, because it's taken so much of the pressure. And sometimes parents come to me and they go, how do you manage blah, 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 blah? And how do you do this? And how do you get them to do that? And I'm like, I don't get them to do anything, because we're working together. And if there's something they don't see a need to do, I have to kind of meet them there and honor it, even if it annoys me.
Right.
Because I get that. I've been there when I've seen people really frustrated with me, and I'm going, I don't get it. Like, why is it such a big deal to you? It's not your room, or it's not your mess. So now I'm on the other side,
Yes,
so...
that's right. That's well, what I hear you saying is where I think a lot of parents kind of miss out, and even a boss, someone that's in charge of people, in the business world, is they don't listen. We have 2 ears to listen. We have one mouth to speak, and it's listening and it's communicating. And again, too, what you said is, they're doing it this way, and you want to tell them to do it that way, but that's not their way. And to be able to let them experience it in their manner, but watching and being cautious to not instill fear in them, saying no, it's just like, well, maybe we have different options.
Yeah.
What if we think about maybe doing it like this instead of like that, or give them food for thought. And that's that communication and that guidance, that is so needed, because you're opening up the lines of communication, and they're going to hear what you say. Where otherwise it just goes out the window, because all they're hearing is no, rejection, they're wrong, and it's changing the world. So it's interesting, coming from the parent standpoint, coming out as a grandparent standpoint, and then being able to work on the level with great grandchildren. It's amazing. I'm not kidding you. It's just a whole different world, because you've learned so much over the years in how to really watch and observe of what's going on. And these are the wisdom years, right? And if you go back into other cultures and stuff, right, it was the middle people, the parents, the ones who were giving birth and stuff, they're the ones that are doing all the things to make the home safe and make sure that there's a roof over their head and food in their belly and clothes on their back and direction and everything else, right? And they're the disciplinary ones. but it was the grandparents or the seniors, the elites. I mean, they had all different names for, the wise people is what they called them, which were the elders, right? Because they've been through that. And so they were the ones that watched over the children when the parents were doing all that manual stuff that had to be done. And that's where the teaching come in. That's where the stories from the ancestors and stuff follow through. And that's how children learn. And it's different, the connection, the bonding between a child and a parent and a child and a grandparent is different. It's way different. The first time I held that little baby in my arms, that first grandchild, there's no way to describe what that feeling was. It was so emotional. I had such tears of joy. I mean, right now I'm getting emotional over it, the feel of it, right? Holding your own child, when they're born is one thing, but you hold that grandchild, and then you hold a great-grandchild. Oh my gosh, it's just so emotional. It's so beautiful. It's so heartwarming. It truly is. So I hope everyone gets that opportunity. I've had it 4 times. It's great. That's why they call it great, So, but life is like that, right? So it's learning the wisdom of where it is that you are in the journey that you've been on. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's in that interaction, that communication, and that was beautiful how you said that, that each one of your children are teaching you something different, and you're giving them the opportunity to be themselves and not mold them into something that you think they should be. I mean, how many of us out there as adults, and I'm sure in your coaching you see this, is like people are living their life in a way that they think others want them to be accepted because of fear of rejection, a fear of judgment. It's like, oh my gosh, where do we change all that? It starts now in these critical growing up years, right?
Yeah, and I've done that myself, which is, I think that's why I'm the way I am, because I was like that. I was trying to do and be whatever everybody else expected, so that I would be loved or accepted,
right,
or liked, or even admired. I just wanted to be praised. And my grandmother would, boast. My mom's mother would boast about the other 2 grandchildren, my 2 cousins. One was a professional dancer, professional ballerina, and she would boast about her. She's in this show and she's in that and she's doing this and da da da. And we'd be out together, and she would tell everybody about her other 2 granddaughters, except for me. And I would be, well, that's because I'm not good enough. I'm not as clever as them. I'm not as beautiful as them. So I lived a lot of my life just trying to be whatever it took to get the praise and the love and the acceptance. And when I became a mother, and I had learned by then that I had to embrace just being me, it was such a big desire to create a space where they could grow up to be them, and where it wasn't about my ambitions for them or my dreams, or even, I'm still deprogramming myself from what's been programmed into us to think makes a successful person, or what our kids should learn by this age, by that time, they should do all this to be successful. But actually, what they really need is to be allowed to get to understand who they are, to be strong in their convictions, to develop character, and then they have their rest of their lives to decide, career, I want to study that, I want to do, whereas we've got it the other way around. And then so by the time they've done college or whatever training, they are so unprepared in their personality, in their character, and they can hardly cope with the world. And so for me, I embrace the challenges that come their way, because that's what's training them. That's what, like when they fall out with a friend, It's like, oh, this person said this to me. Okay, let's talk about this. Okay, why? What do you feel? What happened? How could you deal with it? What do you think would be right to do? Do you think an apology would be worthwhile? No, you're not ready. Okay, no problem. Like I remember, so many of my friends with their kids, and they'd be, something would happen between the children when we meet for play dates. Say sorry to your brother, or say sorry to your, and I did this with my first, say sorry, apologize now. You're not, and if you do not apologize, you're going on the naughty step, you will not get a treat, blah, blah, blah. And then of course they go, I'm sorry. As the years passed and as I learned and as I observed, I'm like, what is that achieving? I'm not changing his heart. He's just learning to say what I need to hear to get himself his treat. But there's nothing to, in fact, what I'm doing is I'm breeding resentment, because now he's resenting the person he apologized to because he was humiliated and made to apologize. So I stopped doing that. I stopped saying to my kids, say hello to our guest. Say hello to the person. I stopped and I thought it's going against everything I've ever learned, but it feels that I have to stop worrying about people going, oh, they're bad-mannered, or, it hasn't happened, but that was the voice in my head.
Exactly.
And I was like, no, they have to learn to greet from their heart. They have to learn that, because sometimes kids are like, they see the grown-up is up there, and they're like, say hello, hug your auntie, kiss your auntie. See, and they're like, I'm like that,
I'm still like that. I'm really short, so everybody's tall,
Yeah, but we expect to demand our kids to do all these things because that's what's expected, And so I had to kind of step out of that and go, whoa, because all I'm doing is training them to do what's expected.
That's exactly right.
They are. Yeah. So if I don't create the space in the home for them to know who they are and for it to grow, to grow their, I'm ready to greet people and say thank you and apologize. We have to grow those skills, not just demand them. Right. So it's been quite a journey. And I'm still learning. I still get it wrong, and I still have to apologize to my kids because sometimes.
Well, and that's good because that's how they learn. I mean, what you just spoke here is so beautiful. Again, it's that learning process, and you're saying, you know what, the buck stops here. I'm not going to put another generation out there like my generation and the one behind me and the one behind me and right? Yeah. It's like the buck stops here. Yeah. And it is that open line of communication. And I work as an identity specialist, okay? And the reason why is I was 24 when I started my journey as to who am I? Right? I'm second oldest of 11 kids, okay? And so, take that into effect. We grew up on a farm, so the attention, with that many kids and the work, and that's just the way it was. But again, where was my identity? I was being referred to as being so-and-so's mom, so-and-so's wife, or the one that wrote for the papers, all by association. What you're doing here is you're allowing your children to learn who their identity is throughout their growing up years. That, my dear, is powerful. And I want you guys to listen out here to what she is really saying here. Where are you on the level of raising your children? Where are you in finding your true identity of who you are? Is if you don't have an identity of who you are, how are you going to know what your purpose is? How are you going to know where your passions are? And it's a lot easier to make it in the world out here and have that confidence and that trust and belief in yourself when you have that pure identity from little on up. So Michelle, kudos to you for what you're doing here with those children and being able to do that, because again, it's bringing back your true identity at the same time, and that is a growth, because we are all teachers to each other. We are all students of each other. And when we can get past that and learn from that, that makes you and the other person a better them. And that is one of the most beautiful notes to just, let's stop this conversation. We've been on here for a while now, and we're going to pick this up again. We're going to get you back on this show, young lady, because that is so powerful. The audience needs to hear that, And again, Nobody's perfect in this world, but we are perfect. We start out in that. Sometimes we just get, off the track a little bit, but it's opening up and learning those skills. And it is a learning process. And you are really going down a track that's going to create a generation and generations in the future to not be on a program of something that's a false truth. And that warms my heart, because I work with a lot of people to have to change and reprogram all of that old false truth, because it was truth when it was created, right? And you're helping your children learn how to think for themselves through guidance, and that's powerful, right?
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being on the show, Michelle, and we will get you back. So
Thank you.
Any words of wisdom you want to leave with the audience?
Ooh, embrace whatever comes. I think that would be my most, I think that's the most powerful thing in my life, because I've lived most of my life with fear, and I've had to shed every layer of fear over and over. So I say, just embrace, be always ready to embrace. You cannot control anything that's going to come. You cannot know if your next breath is going to come. So just be ready to embrace, because everything that comes, even the adversity, actually, especially the adversity, is there to teach you. So just embrace it, go with it, and let it teach you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Powerful words, powerful words. So thank you all for listening today. If you want to get a hold of Michelle, talk more about her, private message her, reach out. She's here. And who knows, you might be able to tell your story on her show, because she's going to have one. We're going to make sure she's going to have one. So let's go out there and be that best you that you can be, because Michelle and I are going to be the best we that we can be. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next show.